Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation reactions. I am Fred. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're thinking, wait a second, you've already covered all 26 episodes of the show, right? Right? And the answer to that is yes, yes, I have. Granted, though, we ended up doubling up on episodes in the second half of the series. Otherwise, we would still be doing this until 2026. However, there are still two more episodes to cover. They are part of Power Rangers in Space. Now, Power Rangers in Space was the overall two, three, four, fifth, sixth overall full season of the Power Rangers franchise, because you had the three Mighty Morphin Power Ranger series. You had like the half season of Alien Rangers. Then you had Zeo. Then Turbo. And then Power Rangers in Space, and then Lost Galaxy. I think it goes Lost Galaxy. Was it SPD or Time Force? One or the other, because I did watch Power Rangers up through, for sure, up through Time Force, and I think it was Jungle Fury, in terms of like stuff that I actually have like a strong memory of actually keeping up with. Because Power Rangers in Space was like 98 and 90, 97, 98, so that's kind of like my sophomore, junior-ish year of high school, somewhere there's about. And then Galaxy was definitely my junior to senior year, and whatever came next is like my senior year. I was very busy. I forget the actual years of Power Rangers. It's actually quite tough because I graduated like my senior year was 2000 to 2001, and I know between my junior and senior year in the summer of 2000, I was doing boot camp at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. So, and I know Power Rangers in Space was kind of before that. Anyway, Power Rangers in Space is, in many ways, is kind of responsible for the fact that the franchise got essentially a new lease on life. It is the last season of the franchise that actually had like in terms of without changing like gimmicks and characters up until like the Megaforce Samurai, something like the later back in Neo Saban stuff where they did divide things, where they did space the seasons out, episodes out a little bit better in terms of like pacing to get two seasons of like 20 to 20 some odd episodes, as opposed to this one season of like 40 to 60 episodes. Take. There was a it's the last season of the show that actually had like remnants of the previous season's team really carry over, because in Lost Galaxy, the only cast member that carried over was the guy who played Bulk. And then things kind of like go from there, where it's like one season, one team going all the way forwards up until like when they started like the splits and stuff, until they realized they wanted the big like anniversary Sentai footage to kind of like match up with the Power Rangers, like a major anniversary for the Power Ranger side, even though it didn't really match up, especially in terms of what was being depicted on screen, and of course the obligatory shoving Jason David Frank down everyone's throat as the. I'm sorry, as someone who enjoyed Power Rangers, I am not a Tommy Oliver fan. I don't care for Jason David Frank. Was it tragic what happened to him? Yes, but you know what? He is arguably the worst actor in the franchise of the show. And if it wasn't for the fact that his introduction as being Tommy Oliver in the Green with Evil 5-parter in the Mighty Morphin era, like the first year of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, no one will give two craps about him. The character had a great write-off. He lost his powers, moving along in any way, and because they were so cheap, and like instead of adapting the footage that was because Jude Ranger was the Mighty Morphin stuff, but the Zords, there was like a weird thing with production where they created a whole bunch of new footage for monsters using like the Mighty Morphin, the Jude Ranger suits, and then it said no, we want to use the Zords and stuff from the mechs and stuff from the series that came after Jude Ranger. We also had a little kid as the White Ranger. And says, "Oh, we can bring Tommy back and put him in the White Ranger suit." And it's like that, like a whole, there's a whole mess of stuff just to keep shoving Tommy into the roster, as well as, excuse me, I had to take a swig of fruit punch. But there was a whole bunch of stuff that I could go on rants regarding Power Rangers. Am I strong just like with Tommy Oliver? But we don't have to worry about him. We have to worry about Andros, Ashley, TJ, Cassie. Is it Carlos? Andros is red, TJ is blue, Ashley's yellow, Cassie's pink. I want to say it's Carlos is the Black Ranger in terms of the Rangers in Space roster. And again, I'm going off of memory here because it's been a long time since I actually watched these episodes outright. Astramina is the main villain. Ecliptor is like her henchman. They had, who was the nephew of Divatox, who is such a babe, but her nephew is also part of Astromina's crew as a bit of a comic relief character. Elgar, I want to say his name was. I'm not 100% sure on if it's Elgar or not. But still, before we dive into the episodes, other stuff I remember about Power Rangers in Space. They didn't introduce like a Silver Ranger later in the series. It had a whole bunch of mechs. It's actually coming off of like the end of Turbo. It is a major indication of time where like the Rangers basically lose and have to do something desperate. Like the end of Power Rangers Turbo kicks off. It's such a dark turn for the series because the command center gets blown up, and like the remaining Rangers of that team, Justin stays behind. So it's TJ, Ashley, Cassie, and Carlos. They decided, you know what, they're going to go to space to try and find Zordon. They come across the Astro Mega ship, meet Andros, and things kind of roll from there. In terms of the placement of the two episodes that we're going to watch, Save Our Ship and Shell Shock, I believe, if memory serves me right, because I have not looked this up, these would be episodes. I think they're either episodes 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 of the Power Rangers in Space era. Uh, I know it's very, very early because no, Power Rangers in Space I believe premiered in '98, spring of '98. Not spring, February of '98, which was corresponded with the back end of the Ninja Turtles Next Mutation series. See, I see. It's like like memory things are starting to unlock here in regards to that. Um, so that would have been like the back end of my sophomore year. Let's say, not the year of the. No, wait. 98 99 was my sophomore year. Because 99 was when the Columbine incident happened out in Colorado, and I can go into a whole rigmarole on how that affected me in New Jersey. Because 99 2000 was my junior year. Okay, so it's like, yeah, memories. What can you expect? I am old. I am middle age. I'm a fat white dude. It's like trying to piece together memories from like stuff from like uh over 25 years ago. Anyway, let's dive into that. I'm probably not gonna. I know we're gonna. There are a number of stuff with the. What I do know for sure regarding the Power Rangers Ninja Turtles crossover, other than the blatant extent, obviously to cross promote and get folks to watch Power Rangers fans to watch a Ninja Turtle show. They use different actors, voice actors, for the turtles' voices, so they sound different. I know that to be the case. It's the only footage outside of like the stock footage of New York that actually is filmed in like California or something. Because Ninja Turtles, the next mutation was primarily filmed in like British Columbia, Vancouver, which I thought was Toronto, that area, but no, it was in Vancouver. It was in British Columbia. Um, and but Power Rangers itself was filmed in California. Amazing considering it was a non-union show. And anyway, let's get into it. Hey, we're getting a recap. All right, so that's right. Previously on Power Rangers in Space, the Red Ranger is revealed to be Andros. Also, Alpha had like no, Alpha has this like his third voice change. Oh, Astronema, you were. It's like it was so cute, it's so hot back then. All right, so these are episodes 2 and 3. I had my memory was right there. Now, if memory serves me right, it and again, it's kind of gonna be a stretch here. I believe the Sentai footage was supposed to be like a virtual reality setting, which itself is kind of weird. And they call it like Mega Blue, Mega Yellow. We actually saw wrapped on that they displayed on the screen there because they didn't really change the footage as much as possible. But I will say that I do like the Ranger suits there. Like they actually had like wonderful like uniforms. Both out of uniforms. I do like the gray, like the gray jacket with the gray pants and like the colored like semi turtleneck underneath. And the Ranger suits themselves are real nice with the solid color, the white bar with the team colors across. Our boys, Bulk and Skull. Is like Jason Harvey and what was Jason Harvey? Jason Narvey, I believe, played Skull. Who the hell played Bulk? I'm more likely they're gonna have their names in the opening credits, but they were in many ways they were like the Three Stooges for a lot of like tweens, teenagers because they did a lot of pratfalls, a lot of slapstick, which really wasn't all that common in a lot of live action kids programs in that area. We're close to outer space now, flying higher than ever before. Rangers in space, go Power Rangers. Paul Schreier, didn't just. Oh, God damn! This hearing this the song is like, boy, that's a memory unlock. The fact that I even know, like, was able to without responding like after the fact. So save our so again, so it's it's a way of getting Andros on Earth and establishing, yeah, it's still going to be an Earth focused show, even though they're supposed to be out in space looking for Zordon out in space. Okay, is his name Elgar or Knight? Of course, he doesn't do Windows. He wasn't. I get it. He's there for a comment for a comedy. Yeah, yeah. Toss him off the ship. Throw him off. Anyways, I highly doubt Dark Spectre said that that Astronema needed him. I really doubt that. Who's running the surf spot? No, Lieutenant Stone will be running the surf spot now because Ernie's gone. This is like the old. This is the youth center set. And that's right. The Black Ranger is Carlos. Credit to the guy playing Andros who looked genuinely confused. Oh no, it's not Lieutenant Stone. It's I know who that is. I don't remember the character's name, but upon just seeing her, it's like okay, really struck again a memory unlock there. But boy, these are like really generic '90s looking clothes. What planet are you from? Yeah, like it's a bit of an awkward way to hang that surfboard. But Andros is like, yeah, they don't really stick with the awkward. He's actually a human from another planet for too long. But don't steal Bulk's fries. But I will say this in terms of Bulk and Skull, this is after they were cops. This was after they worked for Lieutenant Stone. After they were international spies, right? Oh, and her name's Adele. Is she a good singer? We don't know. It is his lunch. A big thing of fries. I can't argue. Yeah, here's your water. Yeah, you may drink your water. I mean, wonderful facial expressions on Skull. And again, for those who have watched this series of reaction videos and stuff up to this point, you would know I do appreciate like a good strong facial reactions, especially from characters that have a bit more of a comedic element, such as Bone Steel and Doc Doctor not Doctor Sleaze, not Sleaze. Oh, he just using telekinetics to put some hot sauce in the milkshake. That's just evil. That's just ruining a milkshake. That there is something evil with that. And Ashley realizes he has some abilities. She's not going to say anything because she is that damn cute. I don't think she points it out here. And I like the fact that Bulk went for the whip. Look, went for the sip at first and then misses it. Because you see something in the paper, but now again, it's a great oversell of the hot sauce. Get the water, chug it down. Again, as someone who drinks a lot of water, if you come over to my Twitch streams, you know I have a redation hydration command, and I take a swig of water. Often from this bottle. More often than not, gotta fill that up for tonight. Bulk is not okay. You left your fries, Bulk. Astronema is in orbit. Cassie was also really cute. And she actually has like a temporary role in Power Rangers Lost Galaxy when the character of Kendricks has to be written off. What's a milkshake? Yeah, you know, no, he definitely a great no sell there. Phenomenus, Ingenious, Incorporated. Phenomenus also carries over into Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, and he was an interesting choice to add like to replace Lieutenant Stone as like the foil, but because they're going into the whole alien conspiracy bit, it is it is a little bit shall we say not as good as the dynamic with Lieutenant Stone, if memory serves me right. because there wasn't really that many opportunities to really carry it forward. Even less so when Phenomenus and Bulk end up in the colony ship for Lost Galaxy, where Skull gets left behind because he oversleeps. But we all know Jason Narvi is basically he was leaving the show at that point to pursue his education and other career opportunities. Nobody believes you in finding a UFO. But but it's also implying here that he's actually able to grab Bulk and Skull by the back of their collars and he lifts them up onto their tiptoes despite being conceivably shorter. That was an electronics store they came out of, Angel Grove Electronics. Like how sad a state is Angel Grove when they can't even have like a legit storefront for storage and stuff. Granted, they did make a prop to show that yeah, there's an electronics store there at that location, but this looked like a generic office building that they were walking out of. And these aren't Piranhatrons, but we shall overlook it. But these were introduced as the major minion threat, and they couldn't really beat them without their suits in the first episode of Memory Right. Andros could kind of hold her own, but they essentially get chased off without much difficulty. No, it's definitely not good. You know what's going to happen at the end of the series. The Zords get destroyed, and then Bulk and Skull have to rally the people. They're called Quantrons. Because Piranhatrons were the Turbo Minions. Cogs were the Zeo. The Tengu Rangers were the Tengu Warriors were introduced in the Power Rangers movie, but they were carried over into season 3 of Mighty Morphin. Then you had before that was Zed's Putties with a Z, and then Rita's Putties in season 1. What the hell was the name of the? What were the name of the minions during the Alien Ranger stuff? Because they said more of a that had more of an aquatic theme to it. Nazada. Nasada. Nasada. Way to get around like using NASA. They have a flat tire. Well, have a play to stop. Stop it from Nasada. And he's like, yes. One. I have to also appreciate that on the side of Phenomenus' truck are like different extension cords and cables. There are aliens. Where's he seeing there's aliens? Uh, it's a Nasada. Perhaps the entree sign is an it, it's a sign, but he was right. Aliens, the Quantrons did appear in front of there. Phenomenus is a crackpot, but he is a genius. And there's Ecliptor, real badass. Ecliptor has such a great arc because he does care for Astromina, and he does kind of go. He goes a little bit. He goes semi rogue, and then gets converted to be totally evil. And then Astronomer gets converted to be fully evil towards like towards the back end of the series, as well as like a new Wigs. Man, I'm going off of the rail here, off of what I remember, because this is going to be the only time I'm going to be talking about Power Rangers in space on this channel. If you think I'm going to go through that entire series in full, number one, I don't have the DVD, and number two, getting footage off of YouTube is a pain in the ass. Spiral Sable. Is this a? Okay, yeah, the weapons of Power Rangers got a little bit more stupid looking over the course of the over the run. And that was a terrible line there. Destroy Astro Megazord shuttle. That was a terrible line read. Great setup there to show, like, explosions of this hangar getting wiped out. Great transition there for Ecliptor fading out. But the weapons, that's the same shot. They used that same shot of her again, literally punching her fist and destroy the Astro Megazord shuttle. They used the exact same shot again. Now, in judging of the Sentai footage and running with the explosions and everything, it works. It works. It works wonderfully. And I believe this is like the only time, at least in terms of Power Rangers in space, where the footage of seeing the Rangers jumping into the space shuttle is actually seen and it taking off. Because it is like permanently docked in like the front of the Astro Mega ship. Which raises question as to how did they get up and down again? I don't think they I don't think they have teleporters there. I know they have like those surfboard things that get introduced. But I'm not 100% sure. Now let's talk about Astronema briefly, because you're going from Rita to Zed to the Emperor of the Machine Empire to Divatox, and Astronema comes across as a bit more of a bratty teen in comparison to a lot of them, especially because Divatox was over the top. Rita's certainly over the top, and Zed creep. Jerry looked intimidating as hell, but also over the top. And like the King Mondos, I forget the Emperor, the Machine Empire's Emperor's name, but they certainly had like more of a mature quality to them. Astronema, up until when she's like goes like fully evil towards like the back end of the series, like because the realizing that she is Andros's long lost sister Corone. Like I said, I do remember these plot points. She she's a bit more bratty in like the first good chunk of the series, and you get like the full in this episode is supposed to be like first big Zord fight that happens. And I said, I know this is a Ninja Turtles reaction series, but the reason why we're covering this episode is because the Turtles show up at the very end of it. And the Ecliptor does have some interesting powers, but I don't. How many fights against the Astro Megazord does he end up actually having over the course of the series? He has a Light Star helmet. There's like instant target lock. You know, I would. You know, I've watched all of Jude Ranger, uh, years ago. One of these days, I will want to watch through it off video recording, like more of Sentai footage, especially Power Rangers in Space, to get an idea of like where some of these powers and weapons come from. And they're going to full explosion thing with the Ecliptor here, but I know he is a reoccurring, like he is Astronema's chief general. These little handy props that they did make. I do like the interior of the Astro Megaship. It does have that Star Trek vibe that they like. They definitely went like the full, like as much as they could Star Trek without it being Star Trek, with sliding doors, like the command center and in the bridge being looking how it looks. Like he's gonna make a pool table. Oh yeah, that's right. And they also have a holodeck on the ship. And it's a great way to go to the to go to the surf spot without actually being there. Yeah, he has telekinetic powers that don't really come into play beyond this episode, if memory serves me right. I don't think that ends up being the case. That he uses the telekinetic abilities much, if at all, over the rest of the series. But it's a decent like closing scene there for like with Andros being bonding with Ashley. And also, Astronema has a wig change, one of several that takes place over the course of the series. She has the perp, yeah, his Elgar or Eldar, one or the other. But she has the purple hair, she has the black hair, and a huge question is, how does Astronema know about the Ninja Turtles and that they're in New York and the sewers? How does she know? That is never explained, and it's like, and it pulls the turtles out of the sewers here. But and again, the voices are very much different. So yeah, like yeah, it's major spoilers. Yes, she hypnotizes them and has the turtles infiltrate the ship, to take the ship, to break the mind control, and we're going to be covering that very shortly here. But it's yeah, okay. So talking about the they actually have bloopers. That's right. They started doing bloopers and stuff. Was like what in Zeo into Turbo, which is again a bit ahead of their time. Like again, I can't think of any other shows. I can't think of any other time that they would actually, any other show, especially live action shows for kids, that would actually be doing bloopers at that point in time. Okay, if we're going to talk about the Power Rangers in space, Save Our Ship, especially coming off of what its first episode one is basically the conclusion half of an episode of like the first episode of the season. I forget was the space was essentially part two of the end of the final episode of Power Rangers in Turbo. Excuse me, Power Rangers Turbo. So Andrews got introduced into that, and I did remember the characters' names pretty damn well here. I mean, Save Our Ship is a fine episode, and it's kind of, and to some extent, it's also a typical episode of Power Rangers. You have the Rangers hanging out. You got some Bulk and Skull shenanigans. It does set up what Bulk and Skull is going to be doing for the majority of the season. They are going into it's like they're working for Professor Phenomenus for the rest of the season. And it leads to what their huge heroic moment is there, where they actually rally the people to fight back against Astromna and Dark Spector's forces at the very end of the season. Um, Everything was just setting up as like the Astro, like how the space shuttle can form a Megazord with the Astro Mega ship, and you have like the big Zord fight with the Ecliptor. It's kind of weird that Ecliptor gets blown up at the very end, because I know it's typically like the general type characters normally escape. At least I'm thinking of Goldar in particular, who would all Goldar, Scorpina from the Mighty Morphin era. They were never really destroyed. They escaped outright. Typically, so it's kind of jarring this me, like all these years later, seeing Ecliptor just like, huh. It kind of treated him like a one and done, as a one and done antagonist there. Even though they said it's like, oh, he's a major threat. And it's like they kind of dispatched him real easily. Um, the fact that they actually used two shots of Astronema saying to destroy the Astro Mega Ship shuttle was, they used that shot twice, and there was nothing wrong with the DVD. That was kind of hilarious. And also like the closing moment with Ashley and Andros. They're bonding. He will teach her telekinesis. She'll teach him pull. There is, again, there has to be a comic or something somewhere. There has to be that would explain how the hell does Astronema know about the Ninja Turtles and know that they are in New York City. So unless there's something with like like maybe the Dragon Lord has some connection with, can reach out to Dark Spectre or something. Dr. Queez could possibly reach out that way because Dr. Queez is on that same level as Phenomenus. As someone who probably, no, Dr. Queez is more of a geneticist and into mutation stuff, not really into astrophysics and looking into in astrophenomena. So I'm not sure. Yeah, that is. I mean, for the sake of to justify the crossover, having it is just really weird to, as a premise, to have Astronema know about the turtles and know exactly where they are, that they live in the sewers of New York City. Because this actually raises like a continuity stuff here that actually will comes up in Shell Shock. I will address it now. But if memory serves me right, in the next episode that we're going to be covering shortly, in Shell Shock, there's like saying that, oh, like there were like legends or rumors about the turtles on Earth. Like there was like rumors there, but the turtle says like, oh, I thought the Power Rangers were just made up or something. But considering how often stuff like would happen in and around Angel Grove, giant monsters attacks and everything, but like there is no way from the turtles' perspective that they would think like the Rangers did not exist, considering how like major like how much major news would be happening out there. Unless of course Angel Grove is it's in its own little safe haven. It was like, you know what, as long as it's contained in this area, no one else in the world knows about it, and it's all like a government conspiracy that is somehow like you got Fox, you got like the FBI and everything keeping everything that happened in Angel Grove so under wraps that nobody else across the planet knows about it. Which, by the way, will be incredibly stupid if that's true. Because now that I think about it, like the only Ranger series that actually seems like proactive in the way of like dealing with major threats. Power Rangers Time Force, okay, they go back in time and like deal with like criminal elements and so forth. SPD was basically a full on Power Rangers Time Force, excuse me. SPD, you actually had like multiple Ranger teams. I think was it like there was an Alpha Squad that goes missing, and then it's a Beta Squad that has to take their place, and the Alpha Squad ends up being evil Rangers at the end of that series. Towards the end of that series, they go rogue or something or something to that effect. But at least there was a depiction there in that series that there were like there were multiple Ranger teams capable of doing a job. Anyway, on to what will be the last episode that we cover for Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. Shell Shock. No recap there. It's actually it actually picks up right where the previous episode ends, where Stramna introduces herself. How does a different voice for Venus for sure? But Venus knows who Astronema is. She literally Venus and Raphael is the one that says the Power Rangers are just pretend. But like, because as of now, you work for me. Great line read there. Overly bratty, and it doesn't take much. Didn't take much for her to hypnotize the turtles. One's real zap. They got the purple eyes. But going into what I was just saying in between episodes here, how the hell does Venus know who the hell Astronema is? So if Venus knows Astronema, Astronema knows who the Turtles is. How do the Turtles think that the Rangers are quote unquote make believe, in the words of Raphael here? I also notice that Phenomenus does not get an opening credit line. Or I know I'm probably thinking way too hard about it, but the surfboard and stuff, these astro boards and everything are introduced are the introduction of the galaxy gliders here, and it does and it does explain uh Andros' fascination with the surfboard in the previous episode. Yes, before diving into the tubes, you gotta like do this rather unique gesture before diving into it. It's like everything is so like everything has a transition, everything has a motion. If you don't do the proper gesture before diving into the tube, you end up in the fudge room. You're going right into the boiler. Here's a generic enemy that really gets no use as like a. He doesn't really get much of a. It's a one shot enemy that has no purpose other than to be a distraction to set up the Rangers being saved by the Turtles in the ongoing. But something I wanted to touch on previously is just how stupid the weapons look for to some degree. It's like, okay, the Blue Ranger TJ, he has a little mini axe. The Black Ranger Carlos, he has like a lance type staff weapon. But the Cassie is basically holding like a little radar dish, and Ashley, Cassie's the Pink Ranger, and Ashley, the Yellow Ranger, has like some awkward looking slingshot blaster type things. And the turtles get transported in and they intercept the beam. So Ashley knows who the turtles are. TJ knows who the turtles are. So there is like a weird continuity thing here. But here is a credit here to the with the suits and how flexible the turtle suits are for the next mutation era. It's like it's still very impressive stunt work that is being done. It's like Raphael is holding this energy ball with his bare hands. Like smack the ball off Michelangelo's head, and Venus kicks it like a soccer ball, Messier style. That's a soccer reference, right? And it's a unique option team up there. Oh, wait a second. Cassie knows their Cassie knows their names. It says like she didn't, but it says I can't believe the turtles are for real. Andros is standing off in the background, suspicious. Like, how did they get there? But Andros is stroking his chin with through the shoes, like as if stroking a goatee, or that's a kind of bit weird. But how would the turtles even? Granted, Ashram would have filled them in. Obviously, so that's not a plot hole there because she wants the turtles to go and take over the actual mega ship. Like 10 coming aboard is probably the most. Actually, this episode would show the most amount of people on the actual mega ship at one time. When you count the turtles, the rangers, the Quantrons, Astronomer. I think Elgar ends up on the astro mega ship as well. Donatello getting all like the little techno bag goes and getting all the technological stuff. It's wonderful. How much does Ashley know about the systems? She's only been on the ship. No, they kind of go like on a week to week basis here. But Andros must have really given them a crash course on how everything on the ship worked before, uh, like in the span like of like a couple of weeks. Yeah, Andros' suspicions is rather perfect. Like, but Andros is rather is perfectly cautious here. Interesting thing. They have like certain things labeled like bridge this way. Interesting, but main computer control is like it's a wonderful POV shot with showing like the opening of a panel. And Andros' suspicions is correct. But which turtle is the one that reaches in there first? Like it's either Donatello or like snipping the blue wire and then the green wire. Oh, it is Donatello. And the man, actually dropping the line certified turtleified is actually perfect. And of course, the jobification of the turtles to the Power Rangers is kind of perfect here because Andros dispatches Donnie, Leo, and Mikey in just a few hits before running away. Obviously, they got the numbers game. Leaving the Earth's orbit, the, the turtles have turned full evil. No, the green. It's not a green machine. It's blue. Elgar does end up on the ship, and it's like again, most amount of people you ever see on these sets. And I totally forgot Alpha too. And I will say this, Evil Venus kind of works. It's like she definitely has the poses and everything. At least, but again, there's something about like the feminine cell shoot that definitely works. Be it the Okay, here's a major continuity issue. We just saw in the previous episode that they can hold and beat the that they can beat the Quantrons without any troubles, without their powers, and then you see Carlos and TJ getting their butts kicked. Astronomer commenting on how everything on the actual megaship looks so clean is perfect. Hey, Stark Spectre, which is a reuse of the costume from the Power Rangers Turbo movie, because they essentially use the same costume over. It's a great use of budgety. So it's like cover it is like you want to cover Leonardo's mouth, but you cover his nose. The threat certainly works with Astronomer when he has people under her control. You know, I couldn't quite make sure, but the Quantron was certainly mocking the Rangers for sure. Oh, Andros' telekinesis is coming into play. Okay, it is used in back to back. It is used in back to back episodes. But does he end up getting caught? Well, it drops the tool. I'm guessing. Okay, you can't understand what the Quantrons are saying. It's a cutting tool. It cut this. Okay, that's clever writing there. The Rangers have escaped, and now again the continuity. Now the Rangers can fight off the Quantrons without their powers. Oof, that had a hurt in terms of direct collision there. Again, if you're making an escape, if you're if you're making an escape, why would you do like the hand gesture? Just dive into the damn tubes. Granted, this is where I was making fun of it earlier. Now they're going in hot pursuit with the Astro. The Astro Megaship could outrun the little shuttle. Was opening up a transwarp gateway? Again, as much as how bratty as Astronema is at this portion of the in space series, she is cute as hell. If there's one thing that we can definitely say for sure, that there is some we could we can safely say, like, going back Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and it's certainly up through I want to say Jungle Fury. There's like certainly not one bad looking female character in in the history of the show. Madame Woe was quite a banger too. If you know who Madame Woe is from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers season 1, awesome. If you don't know who she is, look her up. But they're entering a field where things are the reverse polarity of the neutron flow. Not quite the neutron flow, but reverse polarity. It deprograms the turtles. Michelangelo, and I know I ignored the line. Michelangelo had this great line to Astronema saying, "You're asking a turtle who lives in the sewers to explain an astro event." But the turtles are deprogrammed, and they're back to normal. I always said this. I will say this. It is kind of cool that Astronema was going to this is like was going to give orders directly to Venus, but she did. But because of how Deca was reprogrammed, initiate the ship self destruct. But yeah, they really did go all out budgetly in terms of Star Trek with the set, because they got the red alert beams on the control stations. It's a one. Which quarry was this filmed in? Because it clearly was filmed in a quarry with a bit of an overcast, or because it has like a gray filter over it. And I know that was shot in it's clearly a California quarry, because what was it? It's a different exterior from where like the Sentai footage would fully be. But it's perfect. Venus using her shinobi abilities to calm Donatello, so that he can remember what he did, what sabotage he did, is to reconnect the green wire. It's always the green wire, folks. Always. Sometimes it's the red wire, but it's very rare that is. Yeah, that's actually a cool boomerang there, and she doesn't just hit. She didn't just hit the Rangers. She also hit some of the Quantrons along the way with it too. But the question is, when did they get there? That's the question. How did they land there? It raises more of a question there because you don't really see the transition. But you did get the big team up of the Rangers and Turtles fighting the Quantrons with some impressive stunt work and again great choreography here. Again, we you can't again one of the big things that we constantly praised about over the course of the 26 episodes of the Next Mutation series was the fight choreography when it wasn't comedic. And it's great to actually see the turtles having their fight choreography without the overly cartoony sound effects. I mean, you remove the cartoony sound effects from the Next Mutation series for all the normal looking fight scenes during the course of it. It would improve that series so much more. And this does point out the stupidity of Ashley's weapon being like some weird looking like slingshot looking thing. It could easily get knocked out of her hand. Raphael doing like a big like elbow drop was interesting. It was a kind of cool. Venus getting some solid hand to hand combat. A lot of flips, dips, dodge, roundhouse kicks. One of the Quantrons trying to like beg for Ashrama to get her out of there. Nice double thrust kick from the Leo and the Red Ranger and Andros. And it's a wonderful pile up there. And again, the overly bratty expression on Astronomer's face. She went she went full blue steel. Her saying that none of them seen the last of her. It is it's the last time the turtles see Astronomer, unless there's a comic somewhere that where they cross paths again. But I mean, it's a simple, silly spin-off. But okay, so at least the awkwardness here with Andros is like having to accept the turtles' handshake. At least being less suspicious now with everything like being resolved. It's a wonderful team. It's a great little team up there. Like yeah, the turtles still need a ride to New York. DJ giving like a little arm to Venus. That's kind of cute and that's a cute and adorable. There, it's a wonderful little bit of a closure. And if you think about it, in the context of the Next Mutation series, this is the only time directly outside of Bone Steel, Queeze, and the time they do the Splinters blind friend, and when they do the fundraiser for endangered animals. That guy gets her revenge on Donatello for reprogramming her. But this is the most time the turtles uh, expend any time with human characters, and it's a great like closing shot here with the turtles riding the what were introduced to Galaxy gliders. It, 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 it's a wonderful it's a great as a closing shot there to close out the Next Mutation era. Like like there's certainly some nice little bloopers here. Was like a hokey pokey, and like how like in terms of the timing of the some of the choreography and stuff happening between takes. Very little stuff there to watch that. Um, okay, is it a good crossover? Does it make the Ninja Turtles look bad? Well, kind of, because they have to be evil and they're dumbed down so that Andros can get the jump on them. But also the Rangers themselves come across as a little bit like overly trusting. So, uh, what can you say? What can we honestly say there about that? And I'm not sure why there was such a sudden drop in frames just now, which was kind of weird. Anyway, like the fight choreography, very good. Again, the the sub the Saban brands, and I will give credit to them when they because like footage of the Rangers fighting out of their attire had became a staple of the show in the Mighty Morphin era. Because they didn't want to like totally burn through footage as quickly as possible. So you had all of that, and so we've seen the Rangers fight out of their suits. That's perfect. And so there is like that. The fight choreography of Power Rangers was always pretty damn good for what it was, and so you add like the complexity of having like okay, you have especially in Shell Shock, you have the complexity of having five Ranger characters. You have the five actors in the turtle suits, and then you have the Quantrons, like about a dozen, about maybe about. It's hard to get an exact count. It's like because that dog pile was only like maybe about half a dozen dudes, but you get the impression that there's like many more, or maybe they exploded. We don't know. Certainly not depicted on screen, but like a large, like the coordination of having like of making like a small group of dudes dressed up in the Quantron outfits looking like a much larger group, and then there's like to coordinate everything and to make sure all the Rangers and all the Turtles have times to shine. It was like one of the better fight scenes. I will certainly say it was wonderful seeing the Turtles do a major choreographed fight without any of the silly cartoon effects that the next Mutation series suffered through. Um, again, like many years later, Ashley, Cassidy, and Sharon are still cute. I'm sorry, I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed to say that. And also, it's like the guys playing Andros, Carlos, and TJs were quite attractive dudes in their own right. Look, and I can get away with saying that. All right, if I can comment. I can make these comments without fear, without people making any exception, making any judgments. Because come on, y'all know what I'm about. I hang it up right behind me. Let's as far as the crossover go, like watching Power Rangers in space, these two episodes, uh, fully and actually decent quality. So many years after, it certainly brought back a lot of memories of what was uh my sophomore heading into my junior years of high school. There is certainly some fondness there, and certainly some and also not so fondness of that period of time in my life. But watch Power Rangers, like when you're again, I was in high school when Power Rangers in Space premiered, and so you definitely is like okay, you're watching it. It's like yes, clearly aimed for a younger audience, but a lot of the plot lines and the Power Rangers in Space was certainly serialized as things went along when a lot of the plot elements with revelation of Corone and being Andros' sister, and like the plot and all the major plot elements that got introduced over the course of the series. There was certainly a lot there. Like, there's a reason why a lot of people have or say it is the greatest single season of Power Rangers and greatest series of Power Rangers ever, because of like how dark it got, coming off of like what Turbo ended with and then carrying that on through all the way to the end. Because Power Rangers in Space was essentially supposed to be the final year of Power Rangers, but because it did so well with its storytelling and everything, it led to like, okay, let's do Lost Galaxy, which continued to, which went full on space opera along the way, and it led to like a Time Force. It led to Jungle Fury, SPD, Lightspeed Rescue, not necessarily in these particular orders. Power Rangers in Space gets a lot of credit. You can damn well say Power Rangers in Space is essentially responsible for the past 26 ish years of Power Rangers. Like, knowing it was supposed to end there, everything else that came after owes itself to what, because it really set the template for a lot of the almost every following series, where it's like, okay, things get really drastic, really bad towards the end of the series, and oftentimes one would say, because this was certainly true with Lost Galaxy, it was certainly true with Time Force, was actually good to start to finish. Lost Galaxy had pits and valleys. Jungle Fury, well, sucked. Uh, or was it Dino Fury, the one where Jason David Frank, that overrated piece of shit cock. Again, I have opinions on Jason David Frank, where he came back as Tommy, as like Professor Oliver. I forget where that is, because that series fucking blew. uh oh boy, but there was a template where you're like, okay, peaks and valleys, where like, new Rangers get introduced, and power acclimate to the powers, the weapons, the Zords, and it's like mostly dominated fight. Then it was like the final few episodes, things get more serious to some degree, where the villains like get some sort of major advantage, and oftentimes that's when a lot of viewers were tuned in. It's like, and again, this is truth to be told here, when Nickelodeon had like the Ranger series, they would do like full on marathons of previous seasons. Um, and so I would actually sit and watch, and then also when I had Netflix for time, is like catch up and watch some of the more lot of stuff. And it's like when Samurai, because I did watch Power Rangers Samurai, because good god, that was awful. But it like the same formula that was from Power Rangers in Space, was like the peaks and valleys and all the little like the late twists and turns that happened towards the end of Power Rangers and Samurai, or Super Samurai in particular. That specific block of episodes, that same formula was introduced in Power Rangers in Space. One could say that was also introduced in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers season 1, because that big cyborgish Zord that Rita has, a Goldar pilot, that was essentially supposed to be the series finale for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But then they made additional episodes with new footage that was exclusively created for it, which is a whole rigmarole in and of itself. Anyway, this has gone on for like for an hour and 10 minutes. Um. Anyway, hopefully this Friday we will be doing. There will be a new episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine reactions, assuming disc 1 of season 2 actually works and does not have the same problems I was running into with the final disc for season 1. Over on my Twitch channel tonight, because this is a Wednesday when this is premiering on the YouTube channel, we will be playing Tom Clancy's The Division 2, continuing the Battle for Brooklyn DLC. We are also on my Twitch channel sometime within the next week or so. I should be wrapping up Claire Obscure Expedition 33, Friday night, which would be the October 10th, we're going to start playing Ghostbusters, the video game remastered. I have played it before. There's a playlist of my previous playthroughs available here on YouTube, here on the YouTube channel. So yeah, it's a game I know pretty damn well, but we're doing it because of the Halloween season. And depending on when we finish Expedition 33, I might try to work in a few like short-ish horror games that are in the same vein of Until Dawn and The Quarry. Basically, stuff that was created by developed by Supermassive Games. We'll see what I have in my library. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, tighten your friendship braces, stay safe. We'll catch you when we catch you. Bye, folks.